following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is Mick Shots.
Streaming live on DallasCowboys.com and the official Dallas Cowboys app.
Now, here are Bill Jones, Everson Walls, and Mickey Spagnola.
And it is a Wednesday at the Star in Frisco. Mickey Spagnola inside the SWBC Mortgage Studios there, inside Ford Center at the Star in Frisco. And Everson Walls in his domain, and Bill Jones in his. And we are set to go. It's a work week. It is Niners week, and it is time. I certainly hope, Mickey, when you walked in the doors there at the Star in Frisco, that you had all this negativity out of your mind. It's time to get to work on the Niners now.
No negativity, just realism. That's all. But I am ready for
the humdrum reality.
Hey, I got a question for you guys. I thought of this because it keeps coming up and keeps coming up. If the 49ers heading into this game were, say, 8-5, 9-4, would this game got flexed?
No. It would not have got flexed.
I agree.
It's the 49ers' fault. It has nothing to do with the Cowboys' 4-9 record. It's the 49ers' fault that this game got flexed.
No, I think it's both.
Let's be real, Bill.
It's a two-team deal. You know, the Cowboys keep going. Well, they got flexed.
No. It's not. The Cowboys are in a unique situation, Spags, to where they, no matter what, they want. If we're playing well, they want to see us lose.
Right.
And if we're playing badly like we're playing now, they want to see us lose.
Exactly.
That's just the way it is. So San Francisco has to hold up their end. The fact that they suck this year, that makes it, how can I put it, dumpable. It's a dumpable game. That's what I put it.
Yeah, because it's like both teams, there's no appeal for the game. But if one team had something going, it would have still been a Sunday night game. But unfortunately for the 49ers,
let's be real.
The 49ers have lost 5 of their last 6. The 49ers have lost 5 of their last 6 games, and they don't have their starting quarterback. So they kind of contribute to this. They don't even have their
backup quarterback.
Yeah, maybe, right?
They might be going to their third.
They are the Dallas Cowboys. They are typical of what happened to us this year. It's typical of all those teams that didn't manage it well. The teams that managed the COVID crisis well, obviously those are the ones that are doing better. They're the ones that were less succumbing to sickness and virus and things of that nature. That's why Baltimore had to have this. It's a had to have game the other night because COVID put them in such a dire situation. Just like it has the Cowboys, just like it has the 49ers.
Well, I don't know if it's COVID or it's just injuries. It's just injuries.
It's injury.
But a lot of those injuries came from, first of all, we know from the fact that we didn't handle the offseason well at all. No one was doing anything. We had no continuity or anything.
But they couldn't do anything, to me, Everson. Everybody was in the same boat.
It doesn't seem like even from an individual standpoint that no one did anything to prepare.
They were working out at Dak's backyard. Remember
the offensive lineman?
Well, I don't know about the offense, but they got hurt.
So we saying that the injuries were because of the offseason?
I think. Well, why would we have so many injuries right now? What is so different about this offseason than any other offseason?
All right, well,
lack of availability.
Well, yeah, but, okay, so we can start with Travis Frederick retiring right from the start. That had nothing to do with anything.
There you go.
All right. And then La'el Collins had a bad back when he finished last season, and it cropped up again late, right before training camp, and then developed a hip problem. That had nothing to do with not doing anything in the offseason. Then they lose Tyler Biadasz to a hamstring injury during the national anthem. See, he should have knelt instead of stood.
But that was 2 months after he had reported. It wasn't like 2 days after he
I'm saying,
reported.
yeah,
right.
I know.
And so that was
and then Zach
he
Martin
had been on
gets hurt.
campus, so that was not COVID.
And Zach Martin gets hurt during the season. You lose your cornerbacks and Tyron Smith with the neck injury. That happened during the season. So injuries, I think, to both teams really put them in the situation, especially when you lose your starting quarterback.
So you're telling me that these rash of injuries, not just with our team, but all over the league, had nothing to do with the lack of availability to your or access to your facility and to your teammates. You're telling me that all of these injuries, they just happen to coincide with the fact that we had this COVID off season. That's what you're telling me.
I'm telling you
it has
that
nothing to do with it. That's what you're telling me.
I don't know how you train your neck in the off season to make sure a disc doesn't slip. I don't know how you train your back that was already bothering you, and you were able to come in and work out if you were rehabbing an injury. So to me, these injuries, you're going to have injuries.
So that was it. We're just the unluckiest team. We're just the unluckiest team in the league.
Well,
we're just the unluckiest team in the league. That
look
we got
at
all
Philadelphia. Philadelphia suffered injuries. The Giants suffered injuries.
I am saying the entire league did not have access. That's exactly what I'm saying. The entire league did not have access, and therefore the entire league was affected.
But the entire league is not sitting here at 4-9.
And that's why I said in the beginning, it depends on how well you handle this situation in the offseason. The teams that handle it better, whether it was bad luck, odd injuries, lack of access, whatever, the team that handled it better, those that were able to stay away from it by whatever means, Spags, luck, bad luck of the draw, it doesn't matter. I think all of these injuries in the entire league is how I started off this conversation. Those that handled it best are the ones that are in position right now to win a division or go on further in the playoffs.
Well, then they all should get fined if they were working out illegally.
Really?
Yeah.
That's all you got?
We're just going to disagree on this one. That's all.
I understand. But it's just okay. So COVID's here, and all of a sudden, the entire league has. I would dare compare the injuries and mishaps from this offseason to other off seasons. You're telling me that that they correlate. You're telling me that they correlate.
No,
you're telling me that there's the same amount of injuries.
If you would have told me the inability to have a real training camp in off-season affected what happened to Blake Jarwin, affected what happened to Gerald McCoy, then I would agree with you. But the injuries that really debilitated this team, I don't think had anything to do with the offseason. Now, maybe the cornerbacks that had soft tissue injuries, I get that. But I don't think missing the offseason caused Trayvon Diggs to break a bone in his foot. You know, there was other injuries as the season came along.
You can have exceptions, Spags. There are exceptions. It's no doubt about it. There are exceptions. But to me, it was all about once you go through your offseason and you're accustomed to doing things a certain way. It's not just about soft tissue injuries. I talked about it way back before we even started the season. The timing of it all. Your body is not as, it's more susceptible to injuries, I think, when you don't have that mental connection between your brain and your feet that is usually there in a more rigorous and normal off season. So now you're going out there and it almost feels like you're not where you need to be physically. You know, your timing is not there. Mentally and physically, the timing is just not there. So there are missteps. Your instincts may be off a little bit. To me, all of those, it's like when I held out back in '86. I was physically ready to go, but when I came into the game, instinctively, I wasn't where I needed to be with no practices during training camp. I didn't get hurt, but I got toasted. So my thing is, there are times when you need that continuity because it does work with the brain and with your feet to your body together. So your steps may be off a little bit. You may not be as in tune to getting rolled up. Just small things like that, I truly believe. And like you said, we can disagree. I truly believe when something is taken away from your off season, that normalcy that you're accustomed to, I think you're susceptible to certain injuries. I really do.
And you know what? And I believe that. I believe that. But the injuries the Cowboys suffered were not those type of injuries. Dak Prescott was lighting the league up, throwing the football, and then he gets tripped up.
Oh, no doubt.
On running the ball and tears up his ankle. Andy Dalton suffers a concussion. Now, he did test positive for COVID, but if you look at it, the Cowboys have only had like 3 players that the COVID actual infection caused them to miss either practice or games, and one of those was right from the start. So I just think that the injuries on offense really hurt this team. Really hurt this team, and the defense wasn't good enough to compensate. And frankly, I don't know whose defense in the league can compensate for a poor offensive performance. So, having said that,
how much do we? So
what's next? Having said that,
I was thinking about that earlier today, though. In regards, I would love to see a study on the age of the rosters of the teams that are at the top of their division right now, and the ones that have had the injury issues, and see if there's some sort of trend along those ways. One thing as far as COVID is concerned, you did see a lot of bigger players, offensive lineman types, who opted out before the season started. That affected several teams, even before they reported for training camp. And I was thinking about it in regards to some of the Cowboy injuries. Of course, Tyron Smith, although age-wise he's still under 30, I believe, but he's been in the league for a while. Gerald McCoy, obviously Dontari Poe was out of shape, and he was coming off injury last year too, and his rehab might have been affected by it as far as COVID goes. But I'm thinking about. I'd love to see what's the age of the Chiefs roster, and some of the teams that are in the league. I was thinking about it in terms of the Cowboys teams of the '90s that went to the Super Bowl. That was a relatively young team that was just coming of age when in '92 when they were in the prime of their. Entering the prime of their careers, a lot of the key core guys on those teams.
But you make a good point, Bill, though. You do make a good point. I wish there was a study, or just a study comparing other off seasons to this off season and see how that affected each team, how each team dealt with it, and, correlate that with how successful their record was.
Well,
how much are the injuries?
Like you said, even the things that Spags was thinking about.
How much of the injuries are age related or wear and tear related? Go ahead, Mickey.
Well, I was going to say, so I pointed out last week the number of Cowboy players no more than 25 years old that played this year. Well, I redid it, and I counted guys that just played on special teams, and some of the guys that had to play again this past game. I got to 36 guys on this roster who have played in games with no more than in their third year in the league. And the reason of that was a lot of the injuries that the Cowboys did incur. And 20 of those 36 started in games. So you had a lot of guys playing, as Jerry said, that probably would have been on the practice squad, but we got them on the field. So they got too young too soon on the field for a bunch of guys with not much experience, especially on the offensive line.
I was listening to some of the talk shows the other day, Spags, and everyone was, as we talked about, yesterday. They bring up this conversation about McCarthy. And once again, I think one of you guys brought it up. That was the tail wagging the dog in that particular story. But then, of course, as the story continued, people were trying to compare McCarthy to the present coach in Green Bay at this point. And they're giving this coach a lot of credit for how he's dealing with Aaron Rodgers versus how, according to this story, Aaron Rodgers' performance was falling off towards the end of McCarthy's career in Green Bay. Is there any validity to that, Spags? You as a journalist, what do you think about that?
Well, all I can compare it to is how Dak Prescott was playing at the beginning of the season. He was one of the top quarterbacks in the league. So Mike McCarthy didn't ruin Dak Prescott. And one of those when they used that point,
that angle was also explored.
Okay, and then the one thing about McCarthy in 2017, he didn't have Aaron Rodgers. He got hurt. They were playing a first-year quarterback who hadn't played in the league prior to that, and they were stuck basically playing Garrett Gilbert for the entire season. I think Aaron Rodgers finally came back towards the end. He played one game when he shouldn't have, and that was the end of his season. So a lot of his problems were he didn't have Aaron Rodgers. You know, makes a difference when you don't have Tom Brady. Go ask New England.
It's almost as if I don't know if that was created, but they seem to refer to problems that they were having personality-wise.
Yeah, and I don't think he's having a problem with Dak, and he's certainly probably not having a problem with Andy Dalton. Didn't have a problem with Garrett Gilbert. Maybe he had a problem with DiNucci. That's why he didn't play well.
You look at the
people are grasping at straws when you just aren't good enough. Sometimes you're just not good enough, and they haven't been good enough on the offensive line, and they haven't been good enough on defense.
And that leads me to, what do we do about this defense?
Well,
because as you look at it, injuries aside. I'm sorry, Bill. Did you want to?
No. This relates to exactly what you're talking about with McCarthy and Green Bay. What did the Packers do that improved that team more than anything last year for their new coach coming in? They signed the Smith brothers, quote unquote, Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith as edge rushers, and their defense improved immensely last year. And as a result, they go 13-3 last year, and they're up there at the top of the division again this year. If Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith are playing for the Packers the year before, maybe it's a different story for Mike McCarthy. They shored up their defense, and it was the first time in a long time that the Packers actually dived into free agency and signed some guys in free agency to help their team out.
And they signed guys that weren't at the end of their careers.
That's right. Yeah.
So now we sit here, and our defense is one of the worst in the NFL. And we have fewer injuries on that side of the ball.
Exactly, and I understand they lost four starters from last year off a defense that finished 9th overall in the league last year. Oh, by the way.
Yeah, but you know how that night looked, though, Bill, Spags. You know how that looked. We were all confused about the standing as far as that defense was concerned, because they were still the weakness, I thought, of this ball club last year.
Well, there was too many games the Cowboys didn't score more than 17 points, too, though.
Yeah.
If you think about it, right at the beginning, the first loss, 12-10 to the Saints. Can't lose that game.
And So how do we improve? How do we improve defensively? Because at this point, unless we start going out and doing like Green Bay did last year and years before, and start concentrating on defense. at this point, we are salaried up on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, how can we improve when some of our highest paid players aren't even producing well?
And here's the other thing about the defense. I mean, we talk about the injuries have been on the offense, but there have been a number of injuries on this defense throughout the season. Going back to, Van Der Esch gets hurt in September, misses a month. Sean Lee wasn't available to even replace him the first half of the season, basically. You lose Tristan Hill he had a comeback year and he was playing well, and you lose him at around mid-season. And then as what they're going through right now at the cornerback position, shoot, this last game they're playing Rashard Robinson and Savion Smith and Deontay Burton at cornerback. So and you didn't have Cheeto for half the season from the second game on, and then you lose him again this week with COVID. And then you lose Trayvon. You get Cheeto back, and you lose Trayvon Diggs for a month. And you lose. And Donovan Wilson shows that he shows a little something for a couple of games, and then he's out with a groin injury. They've had their share of injuries on defense as well.
And let's also point this out about the guys that are making the big money on defense. There's only one guy on defense making big money, and it's DeMarcus Lawrence. And, I understand 4.5 sacks is not great, but what he's contributed in other parts of the game, I think he's played awfully well. And remember, you were relying on two other defensive ends who hadn't played. Randy Gregory didn't play the first 6 games and then comes back after not playing since 2018. Aldon Smith kind of started off quick and then he kind of tailed off. He hadn't played since 2015. But no one was making big money in the secondary. Your cornerback.
What's your Mickey? What's your definition of big money?
Like $15 million a year, 12 to 15 million a year. No one's making that other than Lawrence. They re-signed Jalen Smith, but the contract was a very club-friendly contract because he got his money ahead of time. Right? You lost Van Der Esch. He's on his rookie contract. Cheeto is on his rookie contract. Jordan Lewis is on his rookie contract. They signed Anthony Brown back to a very friendly team contract. The defensive tackles, you got a rookie starting and a guy in his third year that's on an exclusive rights contract. So, your other
contrast
corner was
that to
a rookie.
offense.
So they didn't really spend any. The guys they spent money on, they flubbed, right? Dontari Poe, out of here. Clinton Dix, out of here. And it wasn't big money, but it was some. And then Gerald McCoy never got on the field.
Boy, Clinton Dix must have been really bad not to make it in this secondary.
Has anybody picked him up since?
And nobody picked him up.
Nope.
No, nobody picked him up. And he'd been on three teams in 2 years prior to coming here. And then contrast what you just said about the defensive money, and then look at the guys where the money's invested on offense.
Yeah, and there's, I think, last thing I saw was that Stephen pointing out $60 million against the cap this year is on injured reserve.
We've gone way past our first break.
Next year, we're going to be ready. We're going to have everybody we need. Yes.
That's right. But we're going to have everybody we need Sunday when the San Francisco 49ers come to town, too. All right?
And I'll update you on that when we come back.
Okay, when we come back on Mix Shots.
Hey there, Cowboys fans. With Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery, cleaning your clothes has never been more convenient. Simply sign up at your local store, set out your dirty clothes, and one of our Tide Cleaners professionals will come directly to your home for a totally contactless experience. Your clean garments will be returned promptly the next scheduled delivery day, so skip the errand and enjoy life, not laundry. Visit TideCleaners.com or your local store to sign up for Tide Cleaners at-home pickup and delivery today.
The Cowboys way, where 16 Hall of Famers and 5 championships shows us what success looks like. Where turkey is always the second best part of Thanksgiving Day. Where we are all defined by one single thing, the star. where we as fans know it's our job to keep the tradition going. Bank of America is proud to be the official bank of the Dallas Cowboys and to support the quest of living life the Cowboys way. Copyright 2020, Bank of America Corporation.
Grab some OtterBox gear and get ready for hanging with the boys. From rugged venture coolers to tough as nails elevation tumblers, we've got what you need to keep your game day drinks frosty and your football feast ice cold. And with cases, screen protectors, and power accessories, you can defend your phone and stay connected to every play. Gear up at OtterBox.com and amp up the fun of every Cowboys game. That's OtterBox.com.
We're back with a tasty treat that's sweeping airwaves and taste buds. It's new Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda's here. A new combo that's music to my ears, okay. Let's play. Cream Soda and Dr. Pepper time. Pour it in a glass of ice.
Ah, music to my ears and mouth. New Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda.
A delicious duet.
Back to Mixed Shots.
Beloved Cowboys from anywhere, open up AT&T's Fan Zone feature inside the Cowboys app and record your personal cheer and referee signals. You'll receive a personalized mosaic and may show up on the AT&T Live FX video board during the game. It's the Cowboys and the Niners at noon Sunday at AT&T Stadium, the day after the Big 12 championship game, Oklahoma and Iowa State on Saturday morning, I think at 11 or 11:30. I need to figure that one out. And
the Cowboys might be playing at 10 o'clock one Sunday before this season's done, right? A 10 a.m. game. Like, we don't even deserve noon. We'll just be on at 10.
Mickey, there's no chance that they can't get flexed out of the 3:25 game on the following week against the Eagles, can they?
Yes, they can.
Well, if they both lose. The Eagles and the Giants aren't holding up their end of the bargain either.
I think if both teams are like mathematically out of it by the time they play, like if they both lose, as Spag says, this Sunday, it's like, all right, nobody wants to watch this crap.
All right, I forgot to look up what the. Have you looked up what the tiebreaker is, Mickey?
No, but I
remember we were talking the other day.
Yeah, I could do it real quick here.
Yeah, if you can, look up the tiebreaker because I had figured out on a multiple team tie that on my tiebreaker, which is the one that matters in my mind, which isn't official, the Cowboys had the tiebreaker, but I guess we ought to try to get it right since that one matters to other people.
Yeah.
In the meantime,
I can get this
producer
right, though.
Chris Beam.
Oh, go ahead.
Have you got it already?
No,
Have
go
you got
ahead.
it
I was
already?
going to give you a practice
Okay,
update.
you look up. Oh, okay. Well, get the practice update, and then you look that up, and I got something else to fill time with here while you're looking that up. What's the practice update?
So we got some guys back on in practice today. Trayvon Diggs began his return to practice off IR, and he was supposed to be limited, but in the portion that us pool reporters, myself and Rob Phillips, got to witness.
That's right. You're one of the privileged
That's
two.
right.
You and Rob Phillips, only one.
He was moving pretty good in those drills, so we'll see how much he was able to do. And as McCarthy pointed out, the big thing is to see how he feels in the morning. Same thing with Donovan Wilson. He was out there, probably going to be limited. Anthony Brown out there moving well. He was out there last week. He was expected to be limited. Cheeto is off the reserve COVID-19 list, so he's good to go. And Ezekiel Elliott began that portion that we get to watch working on the cords, but that's what he did last week, and that's what he did the game before. So I would imagine he should, be good to go. How healthy he is another matter. They returned Adam Redmond, who they released end of last week, to the practice squad. And I think that's just about us. He was the backup center.
What position?
Backup center.
Okay.
And so and Biotish was out there, and when McCarthy talked about it, he said he'll definitely be in the mix in practice. He'll have more practice reps this week than last week. So who knows? He may be your starting center. So they are getting a little healthier. I just don't know if it's in time.
So will they go with?
By the way, one other thing: Deontay Burton, who ended up playing when the other guys got hurt in the game, was not on the practice field. So I don't know what was up with him. We'll have to wait till the injury report comes out.
All right. So if you were to, if Biotish starts at center, who's your starting right guard?
Oh, I think it's McGovern.
You go with McGovern and not slide Looney.
And I think Looney's your backup center. I think Looney's your backup center guard.
Okay.
I think, but we'll see.
Okay.
Because they've done it the other way also. They put Looney at guard. I just think he's a better center than he is a guard.
And does it matter where they are in their season right now? What comes down on that decision, or is it the same motivation that you would have at midseason when you're not as much of a long shot to make the playoffs?
I think if it's a tie, then McGovern's the guard. Looney could save you a roster spot too, because he can be the backup guard center. You wouldn't have to have a backup guard.
Unless you lose two offensive
center.
Linemen in the first series of the game.
Well, that's true.
Unless he gets hurt on the first play of the game.
Good point.
Which has happened before. Yeah, that's right.
I started looking at this San Francisco defense, Spags. I mean, if we're talking about this whole offensive line and how we're going to handle it, what is San Francisco looking at on the defensive side, on their D-line? I recall this team being extremely physical. Their culture is aggressive. They got a defensive coordinator who's highly accomplished and thought of. I'm just wondering is that going to be an issue for us, a la Washington football team defensive line, full of a bunch of studs that are carrying the team?
Well, all I know is
their biggest issue.
Their biggest issue is on offense. Defensively, they played pretty well against Washington. Now, I don't know if that's a badge that you go, oh, you played well against that Washington offense, right? But here's the deal.
Right.
The two touchdowns that Washington scored were on defensive returns for touchdowns, but the defense by itself they held Washington to 193 total yards, an average of 3.11 per play. They held them to 95 passing yards, 12 first downs, and 3 field goals. And one of those field goals was after a turnover, and they only had to drive 13 yards to kick the field goal. So from a defensive standpoint, they played pretty well against Washington. And by the way, guess who's leading the team in sacks? That would be Kerry Hyder, who the Cowboys did not try to re-sign last year.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Kerry Hyder has 7.5 sacks, the former Texas Tech Red Raider out of Austin LBJ High School, who I thought he did well here, but he doesn't fit this scheme, right, Mickey?
I don't know what the scheme is. I can't answer that question.
Well, he's only 6'2", 270 pounds out of Texas Tech when he came out, so he doesn't fit this scheme apparently, but he fits San Francisco's scheme. By the way, the biggest issue that they've had in their front seven, though, Everson, is the injury to Nick Bosa.
Yes.
I mean, he affects
they actually had
things.
2 that went down the same night. The other defensive end on the other side went down.
Solomon Thomas out of Coppell in Stanford, who has not performed up to the 3rd pick in the draft level that he was picked in 2017. But he, in a rotation, he has come along. Of course, he had he had a horrible tragedy in his family that affected his second year in the league with the death of his sister, Ella. But you talk about a quality human being and a guy who's going to make the most of his ability, Solomon Thomas. But as you alluded to, he tore his ACL the same game that Nick Bosa did, and so that was huge. They also lost Quan Alexander, the linebacker, early in the season as well.
And yet they were still able to hold Washington to meager rushing yards compared to what they would do against us.
Well, they also held the Rams to just 20 points. They held New England to 6. The Rams the first time around to 16, and the Giants to 9, the Jets to 13, gave up 24 to Arizona. Then they've had some bad ones. Seattle 37, Green Bay 34, New Orleans 27, Buffalo 34. So when they've played the really good offenses, they haven't played as well. Offenses. And by the way, the 49ers were playing Kerry Hyder at defensive end, not inside like he did a lot for the Cowboys.
All right, so let me ask you this. When's the last time the Cowboys spent a first-round draft pick on a defensive lineman?
Taco.
Taco?
2017?
That was 2017. That was late first round.
Right.
That didn't work out so well. Okay.
Tristan Hill was the first pick. He was a second rounder.
Yeah, but he was late second round.
Right.
I mean, even DeMarcus Lawrence was a second round pick. All right. What have the 49ers done on their defensive line? In 2016, in the first round, they took DeForest Buckner. All right. In 2017, third pick in the draft, they took Solomon Thomas. In 2019, second pick in the draft, they took Nick Bosa. In 2020, this year, 14th pick in the draft, defensive lineman Javon Kinlaw. And I even take you back 2015, 17th pick in the draft, Eric Armstead. So 2015, they took a defensive lineman, Armstead. 2016, they took Buckner, who's now with the Colts. 2017, they took Solomon Thomas. 2019, they skipped a year, and then 2019, Nick Bosa with the second pick, and 2020, Javon Kinlaw. So there's 5 defensive linemen that they've taken in the last 6 drafts.
Yeah, and that's one reason why with Deebo Samuel down, Brandon Ayuk has 50 catches, and you probably can't name any of the other wide receivers on the team, and probably not another running back after Raheem Mostert, and he came out of nowhere. So their most notable offensive player, not named a quarterback, is Greg Kittle, right?
George Kittle.
Kittle, sorry.
So notable that he's Greg Kittle.
Yeah, Greg.
He's pretty good.
So
now, is he still out?
They don't know. He's on IR, and they were going to see what he could do. This week. Also, Mostert, not sure about him. They haven't. I don't know. We'll see what happens in practice today. What the report comes out, if they're staying with Nick Mullins or if they're going with C.J. Beathard. And they were having. Then the guy that had the problems against the Washington defensive front was their 2018 first-round pick, Mike McGlinchey. Struggled badly against those defensive ends. They've got some problems offensively.
So McGlinchey, the tackle, is the only non-defensive player they've taken in the last 6 drafts. And so they went offensive tackle that year in 2018. All right, we got to take a break. Mickey's going to look up those tiebreakers in this break, and we'll be back with more Mick shots in just a moment.
We're back with a tasty treat that's sweeping airwaves and taste buds. It's new Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda. Let's take a listen.
Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda's here. A new combo that's music to my ears, okay. Let's play Cream Soda and Dr. Pepper time. Pour it in a glass of ice.
Music to my ears and mouth. New Dr. Pepper and Cream Soda.
A delicious duet.
Dear, it's 1908. Don't you think we should get electricity?
And stop using candles to see at night.
It's just electricity lights up the room fast. It's more reliable than candles blowing out, and people seem to love it nationwide.
Well, candles are...
Dear, did you just run into the wall?
Nope. May I have a new candle, please?
Historically, switching to new technology is a no-brainer. Today, it's AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure, and nationwide. Switch to AT&T 5G. It's not complicated. 5G requires compatible plan. May not be in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
I'm Jay Novacek, former tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Back in the day, I was the guy who always got the tough yards, and that's why I run with John Deere today. In fact, I have a John Deere 3025E tractor that can handle any yard work I need to do, even the tough yards way out back. So if you have 1 acre or 1,000, John Deere has the equipment that's just right for you. Visit a John Deere dealer today and run with us. We are the official tractor provider of your Dallas Cowboys.
There's nothing as unique as our eyes, which is why Essilor pioneers ways to make lenses as unique as you. Verilux for super sharp vision, Essential Blue for protection, and Crizal for freedom from glare. 3 cutting-edge solutions in a single unique lens. So whatever your needs, insist on Essilor. Visit your local Essilor experts and find the perfect lens for you. See more, do more, Essilor.
Back to Mick Shots.
Santa is back at his Dallas Cowboys cottage at the Star in Frisco. Appointments are available now to take your socially distanced holiday photo with Santa through December 24th. Book now at thestarinfrisco.com/Santa.
Mickey, have you been by there to see Santa yet?
I have. As a matter of fact, I walked by it last Thursday.
All right.
Did you have your
good.
Grinch outfit on?
I didn't have an appointment. They weren't going to let me in the door.
You didn't get your picture taken. Well, we need by Christmas Eve. We need a picture of Mickey with Santa.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to start bringing in decorations.
We need a picture of Spags in a Grinch suit sitting with Santa. That's what we need. That would be hilarious. I'm sorry.
Mickey, do you have those tiebreakers yet
I do.
for me?
If 2 clubs remain.
All right.
So the 2-club tiebreaker is head-to-head, best won-loss tied percentage in games played within the division, so division record. Third is best won tied percentage in common games, and then it's conference record, then strength of victory. If there's 3 or more clubs,
I want the multiple team. Yeah.
If 3 or more clubs, so if there's 3 clubs, it says note, if 2 clubs remain tied after the third or other clubs are eliminated during any step, tiebreaker reverts back to step 1 of the 2-club format. But for 3, head-to-head, games, division record, common games, conference record, strength of schedule, or strength of victory, then strength of schedule.
That's more likely the Cowboys scenario, right? 3 being tied.
So you put all 3 together, and then if you eliminate 1, then it comes down to 2. Then you go back to the top.
Right,
so it's basically the same.
Yeah. Right, and it's not like there's going to be 2 teams coming out of the NFC East. So
right.
It's
so I don't have to tell you
title.
if you're trying to break a tie for a wild card within the conference, then you first apply the division tiebreaker, and then you file the other different divisions applied to the following steps, which comes to conference head-to-head conference record. That's when conference record takes over.
That's why Washington needs to lose out, right?
Well, and I got to go now. My assignment for tomorrow. I gave you an assignment. My assignment now is to figure out the scenario on the common opponents and see where the Cowboys sit if they tie with the Giants and Washington.
Well, it's not going to be very good because the only teams they can beat going forward are teams with a losing record, and those teams have already beaten somebody with a significant winning record. And the Cowboys played basically the same schedule except for what, one game?
Two games.
Except for 2 games.
2 games.
Yeah.
Right. So, okay. I'll figure that out though.
And one of the games the Cowboys won was against Minnesota, so you would have to hope that they would finish. Are they 7-6 or 6-7? They're 6-7, right? And so no one else would have played them. That was outside the division. And the Cowboys lost to all the teams in the West, right?
And I am once depressed again.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, they got to beat San Francisco.
Yeah, that's what they got to beat everybody. That's what they got to do.
Because they beat, but they lost to Philadelphia. They beat the Giants, lost to Philadelphia, and they lost to Washington, which the Cowboys did too.
Okay. Do you want to know who the youngest team in the league is?
Well, how's that figured?
The youngest?
Like today or to start the season?
I don't know. Chris Beam sent it to me. I have no idea.
Well, then ask Chris.
When it was taken, if it was their roster at the... roster at the beginning of the season. Well, that roster after the 53-man cut on September 2nd, the teams have changed so much since then. This makes no sense whatsoever. I want a better roster breakdown. Anyway.
Well, there's your assignment.
Jacksonville has the youngest roster as of Labor Day. Jacksonville.
Their record is?
And they're awful, okay? Here's the next four.
Awful, yeah.
Next 4. Dolphins, second youngest. They're in the hunt. Rams, third youngest. They're in the hunt. The Browns, fourth
Also
youngest.
impressive.
They're in the hunt. Packers, leading their division. They're in the hunt. And then we got Minnesota. And then we got Denver. And then we got the Chargers and the Giants. So we hit a little lull there. And then the 10th youngest, the Colts. They're in the hunt. The Raiders. The Cowboys are number 12 on the list. Now, where are the Chiefs, you ask? The Chiefs are number 16. So they are middle of the pack as far as youngest roster back on Labor Day.
So if you consider all that, okay, tell me.
Yep.
Tell me, I'm counting it up right now. How many guys the Cowboys have on the roster that are more than at least 30 years old?
20.
No. I'd say a dozen.
All right.
10.
7 that are active
7.
today.
Whoa. I'll say 7.
That are active
today.
Today.
Oh.
And one of those is your backup quarterback, which is okay. One of them should have been your backup center guard. Looney's 30. Aldon Smith, who hadn't played in 5 years, 31.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrone Crawford, 31. Sean Lee, 34. Can't get him on the field. C.J. Goodwin is 30. And
LP.
I missed one. Greg Zuerlein, too. And LP's 39.
Yeah,
so
I was
LP
gonna say
he kind of messes up the average, right? You got a 39-year-old deep snapper. It's not like, he's good, right? And he's going to set the record like we talked about for Canadian-born players, most games played in the NFL, assuming he doesn't hurt himself between now and the national anthem on Sunday.
Spags. Don't put that out in the universe, man. Stop it.
I didn't say it. So
all right,
that's
we're out
it.
of time.
That's it. I
know it.
And the guys they lost, weren't that old either. I don't think Tyron Smith is 30 yet. If he is, it's only 30. La'el Collins isn't.
Yeah, I think he may just turn 30, maybe.
His body is real old.
Dak's not 30. Blake Jarwin's not 30. So they were a pretty young team to start with.
I got breaking news for you. What's the date today? The 16th? 4 days ago, Tyron Smith turned 30.
Okay.
So add Tyron Smith. Well, he's not active.
He's
so
on IR. Doesn't count.
All right. We're out of time. All right. By tomorrow, I will tell you tomorrow. Well, tomorrow's Thursday. It's not picks to click. But I will tell you tomorrow whether the Cowboys have a chance of making the playoffs. That's to come tomorrow here on Mick Shots.
Go Cowboys!
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!